Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. For the past 3 years, we've been exchanging voice notes on everything from the highs in Porto to the lows of Potter. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. Oh man, final whistle's just blown. Chelsea 1, Leicester 0. How important did that feel? I said with half an hour to go in a little WhatsApp group that this is a massive half an hour in our season. And about 30 seconds later, Cucurella turned into Marcos Alonso and smashes in a goal, which was probably the one real bit of quality in the game, wasn't it? Deserved the win without playing very well at all. Obviously, it goes without saying it wasn't vintage, but it's that stage of the season now. There's not that many games left. It's just about getting the points, and that's 3 wins in a row. We're still not, on the top of our game. Players like Cole Palmer, which we'll talk a bit more about. I'd like to go into a bit more detail on him probably tomorrow. Clearly not quite on it at the moment, but that's where you have to actually grind out the wins, isn't it? And we have not had many clean sheets this season. Joe, probably the biggest fan of clean sheets that I know, would have enjoyed at least that part of the game today. And yeah, we just had to come out of it with that. And to be fair, I thought we defended very well. I thought really they didn't have a huge amount, did they? So yeah, onwards, weekend results have kind of been okay for us. We sit 4th, which we'd have snapped your hand off a couple of weeks ago, wouldn't we, for that? So onwards, and yeah, I feel like I can breathe again and relax. That is an important win. Come on, Chelsea.
Yes, mate, you know me all too well. 38 clean sheets and 38 1-0 wins will land you the Premier League title with points to spare. Yeah, I do love a clean sheet, you know that. I'm pleased with the win, obviously. It's 3 points. It's another home victory, which we haven't had loads of in the last couple of seasons. But I just think that we're just so far away from that early season form. And I know Maresca will point to injuries, but there's definitely something not right. And you could argue, okay, well, Cole Palmer not scoring and assisting the amount of goals that he has, that made a difference? Well, of course it has. If you've got a guy that's going to score something like 20-odd goals in the first part of the year, to suddenly scoring none, that's a real concern. But he has created a boatload of chances. And I did think today, even though he missed his penalty, I didn't think it was a bad penalty. I thought it was a good pen and a very good save. To get it that low and that hard, often they just squirm under the goalkeeper and go in, or they come back out to you for you to tap it back in. So fair play to Hermansen for the save. It was an excellent save. So, yeah, there's something not quite right for me. And I know exactly what you just said there, mate. You're quite right. Performances kind of go out the window. Results do become the main focus in this part of the year. But I suppose when you're talking about a team that's on a journey, which we seem to be on, and progressing, are we progressing in the football stakes? I didn't really see a lot today that made me feel really excited for the next few games, or even, going into next season. It's very stop-start. It's very ponderous at times. And I don't want to come on here and bang on about the performance, particularly when we won the game. But I do think we need to see a lot more out of this Chelsea team. And I'm not talking about winning every game 3 and 4-0. I don't mean that. I just mean I want to see patterns of play, a style. I feel like our style is non-existent. I don't quite know what we're trying to do. Take away the inverted fullbacks, I don't really get a sense that everybody's on the same page. It's just my personal opinion. As for the game, after the early change, which surprised me a lot actually, was Sanchez coming back in for Jorgensen. Some will agree with that, some will disagree with that, some will say who cares. And, probably the latter is the answer, who cares, because, is either one of them better than the other? I'm not too sure. But you see with Sanchez, yet again, comes flying out for a cross. He's never going to win. And Tosin manages to head the ball back onto the crossbar, comes back down. We manage to clear it off the line. I mean, it's just the blind leading the blind. And Chris, you said there he defended well, and I'm not going to take away from the rest of the performers based on that one error, but it's another humongous cock-up. And I guarantee you, if he does that against Arsenal, he will find himself with a score with one in the opposition's columns board there. So I'm disappointed that Jorgensen has not been given more than 2 games. I just think it's not enough. It's not fair on the boy. And Sanchez has made the errors all season long. But clearly Marissa thinks he's the better goalkeeper, or he's the most experienced, and maybe that's what he's gone for in the end. But I don't agree with it. I think Leicester today would have been another good test for him. Not brilliant side, but a good opportunity to come in and stake a claim. And he might have got another clean sheet today, and who knows where the season might go. But now we're chopping and changing the goalkeeper every other week. It just seems absolutely ludicrous to me. But the manager, I think we did okay. I mean, there was Sanchez was fairly decent. Obviously, he had the penalty, which he got his foot stood on. Excuse me, and he was, he had a couple of chances here and there. He made a few for other people as well, which was quite nice. Enzo was quite neat and tidy. Obviously, Cucurella came in and got his customary goal. It seems at the moment he's really on fire. He's arguably our best player this season, Cucurella, at that time. And he's popped up with quite a lot of these goals. And ever since I said he keeps getting in the way of some of the forward players, he seems to have scored a few goals since I've said that. Although this goal today wasn't him popping up in the box; it was him just driving forward and a fairly good hit. A bit like Reece James's goal actually in the week against Copenhagen. It wasn't like the best struck shot, but it was good enough. It was accurate enough to be in the corner, and it gave the goalkeeper no chance. But I think we huffed and puffed a lot. My biggest concern is that we're not creating enough chances. We're not really taking the game to these teams, and they're not very good sides. But I do think the Premier League this year is way off its usual standard. I mean, it's obvious with some of the results. Liverpool have been very good, but I think other than that, you can see a real marked level between everybody else. And we were only 5 points behind Arsenal, and we have been absolutely atrocious for the last 3 or 4 months. So it goes to show you that we're still in and around those positions. Nottingham Forest, we've gone above Man City. Obviously, Bournemouth drawing today. That's a good result for us. So it's a funny old season. It's a funny old year, and I feel like it's a season that if we can make the most of it, a bit like you said earlier on about the results, Chris, if we can make the most of these teams dropping points around us, if we can somehow pinch a draw, or for who knows, a victory against Arsenal next week by somehow lucking our way through it, then even better. We'll give the team a little bit more confidence to play against, hopefully, the rest of the teams for the remainder of the season. But I'm obviously pleased with the result. I'm happy that we've managed to get back on the winning run again. Well, not back on the winning run, but we've continued our winning run, I should say, because this had 1-0 or a drop 3 points, didn't it? Jamie Vardy late winner, I should say, written all over it, didn't it? You could just see something brewing, and we've managed to kind of get over the line, which is the main thing. Great to see Fofana back. That's really good to see him back in the starting 11. And we'll talk about Cole Palmer a little bit, maybe throughout the week, and potentially even see if the re-addition of Fofana can kind of help Chelsea with a few more clean sheets and hopefully some better defensive displays as the season nears to an end. But we maybe need to do a voice note about our midweek game against Copenhagen. I'll maybe do one of those for us in the next day or so, because we had obviously a game against Copenhagen in the week. It wasn't much to write home about, but I might say a couple of things on that. But it's been a good day, good 3 points overall. Can't complain. Let's take the win for what it is, even though it wasn't vintage, and move on to the next one.
Sunday evening. If you can hear some noise in the background, it's me tidying up Hot Wheels cars for Frankie. But I'm still pleased about the result. I just listened to Enzo Maresca's press conference. He was quite bullish, actually, I thought. Some interesting stuff, basically talking about a lot about the character that we've shown. I have to say, I don't know if you noticed it, but when Pedro Neto, when the final whistle went, he just basically hit the floor. He was done, exhausted. Obviously got a massive smash to the head as well, didn't he, with his bandaged head. I think his character, actually, in the last few games has been really good. And big shout for him. Enzo Fernandez as well, to be fair. His reaction on the final whistle was massive, and he's really stepped up. Really has in the last, as almost Palmer's form has dropped off in recent weeks, he's kind of really stepped up, hasn't he? So he was good. And obviously, and Cucurella, who, he's gone from kind of cult hero to key cog really in the team, really stepping up when you need him. He came on in that Copenhagen game that you mentioned, Joe, and I think actually there were a lot of parallels in the two games, really, in that neither game was a great watch, neither game was a vintage performance, but both were just important wins. And Cucurella in that game in midweek, when he came on, actually, he really helped us, gave us some balance on the left. Obviously, Gusto kind of kept tucking in on his right, didn't he? So he made an immediate difference in that respect. And, involved in both goals. So he pulled back one for Reece James for the first goal, and then actually it was his good closing down within Nkunku that kind of led to the second goal as well. So, yeah, massive shout to him. Again, I think players like those guys are really the ones who are given maybe maybe we don't give them enough credit. There's a lot that we've criticised in the last couple of months about Chelsea, and young group lacking in character. We've talked a lot about the lack of leadership, but in players like Enzo, Cucurella and Neto, you are seeing something there. You're seeing fight, you're seeing real passion for the club, passion for the badge. And I think, when we see it, we should call it out. And I've been really encouraged by that. There was a little bit of criticism from actually, it wasn't even Maresca really, it was from the journalists about the atmosphere at the bridge, kind of comparing it to Copenhagen in midweek, obviously, which was pretty incredible, but just generally. And and Maresca was, as he would be, fairly gentle, but also saying that, we need the fans there in this run-in, and I think that's true. It's a long-standing issue at the bridge, as we all know, in terms of the atmosphere. And something that I think we might try and get a guest on, actually, to talk with us about that. Someone from maybe the Shed Group who wants to do, create a standing area at the bridge, which I think we're at that point now. Something has to change to help the atmosphere. You see it a lot at other clubs, and a good example I think is someone like Palace, where I used to go to Selhurst Park quite a lot, and it was notoriously terrible, the atmosphere at Crystal Palace, and they kind of really, almost a bit gimmicky at first, brought in this kind of like, the flags and this kind of mini, South London ultras behind the goal, and what sort of started a bit laughable actually does become, a core to creating a good atmosphere, and actually the cheesiness kind of goes over time. It just becomes just the singing section, which creates good atmosphere. And I think Chelsea is probably lacking that. We're the oldest season ticket holder base, I think, in the country. Certainly where I sit, there's the same guys around me who've been there since 96, 97 in many cases, where, it's an older group. And just by the nature of that, just people aren't as likely to sing, in their 50s and 60s as they would have been in the, 20s and 30s. So I think getting those people together who do want to sing and putting them, having that part of the ground where, there's going to be the place that starts all the atmosphere, I think would be important. But yeah, it was interesting that was talked about, because that's going to be massive, I think, in the run-in. If Chelsea can win the majority of their home games as we go, then actually that pretty much could be enough to get the Champions League. So it's huge. But yeah, I wanted to shout about a couple of things. I think he talked about Rob Sanchez going in goal. I think it's a bit untied, isn't it? As you say, Joe, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, isn't it, really? And I just think stop mucking around with it now. If Sanchez is your man, if you're just not sure on Jorgensen for whatever reason, then just stick with him. Like, let him play the Conference League as well. Just stick with Sanchez and just say, let's play it out. Because actually I don't know, it can't help anyone, can it? It's just sort of frustrating, and it's the one position you just don't need to see rotation in. And I think at this point in the season, there really aren't that many games left. Just settle. I mean, I think both of us would probably rather it was Jorgensen. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So therefore, let's just go with what we've got. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was Fofana, who we briefly mentioned. But I think him being back is maybe more important than any of us realise. I saw some really interesting stats a few weeks ago about our kind of performances with and without him. And just having him back on the pitch, I think, could really help us. I thought he played very well today. He was solid. Obviously, it's 2 clean sheets in a row in the league, which we haven't had for a while. I think having him and Badiashile back both at the same time is a massive boost going into the run-in. And after the Arsenal game, you've had Lavia on the bench today, so he's not far away. You've got Jackson hopefully coming back, Madueke hopefully as well. Suddenly, actually you kind of, you're starting to think hopefully a bit more positive again. And remember, that is basically the core of the group that was in the team when we were so good before Christmas. I saw a very good YouTube about the kind of a breakdown from 4-4-2 about kind of where it had gone wrong really this season. And they were pointing massively at Lavia and Fofana. And when they came out of the team, how Chelsea had really slipped. So the idea that they can be coming back in, hopefully fully strength and up to speed for that kind of run in the last 8 or 9 games could be really significant for us. So I think that is positive. And the final thing for my note here has to be about Cole Palmer. And actually, well, first thing again, another thing from the press conference was Maresca saying that he was very ill and he had diarrhea the night before the game. So he'd actually asked to play and said, look, let me help the team out, want us to get us back in the Champions League. So again, character, leadership, fair play to Palmer for wanting to do that. You just had that horrible feeling, didn't you, as you stepped up? I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know, the longer it was going on, I was looking at him thinking, as an attacking player, when you haven't scored a goal in a few games, you almost don't want a penalty, to be honest. You kind of want one that just drops to you and you just pop it in. You don't want the first sort of big moment bet to be a penalty, I don't think. And actually, it was a great save. I mean, it wasn't a bad pen, was it? But you just had that feeling about him. And I don't know, just watching him at the moment, he's just second guessing himself, isn't it? Everything he's doing is a little bit more rush than it normally would be. A couple of the shots he's having are just a bit wilder than they were previously. So he just needs to sort of take a breath, settle down. We know the quality's there. Like, he'll be back, there's no question. It's just hoping he can kind of kickstart his season again in this big run-in. And yeah, he just needs one to fall to him, I think. Like, Copenhagen the week, it'd be interesting to see if he plays him in the home game again for that kind of, for an hour, to just try and see if he can get him back on the score sheet, just to kind of, re-kickstart his season, whatever it might be. I don't think the international break will actually probably hurt him if he comes at a good time. He can get some minutes for England as well and just help break out of it. Sometimes that's as good as anything, really, having a little break from it all. But yeah, I felt for Palmer. He just needs one to go in, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just one of those with Palmer, isn't it? You don't need to worry too much about him. He'll figure it out. He's the type of guy that'll go and score a brace against Arsenal. You won't expect him to score. People have been saying, he hasn't scored for a few games, blah, 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 blah. And he'll go and do something magic against them and hopefully get us the points. But I think it's just, with players like him, you just need to give them the credit that they've earned to this point. He's clearly a world-class player. He's clearly got all the tools. He knows, when he's a first-time finish, he knows when to finish it like that. When he's got time, again, he's very good at taking a touch and curling one on the corner. But at the moment, he's in his own head. And that is the same of, of any striker that's going through a barren run. You do start to do things that you don't normally do. And it's no secret that all manner of strikers, Jackson himself is on a bad run of form. But the fact that he's got injured at a time when he was on a bad run, if he were to come back into the team tomorrow, the chances are he'll probably score, because he's not been in the environment. He's not been in that hot, heated, cauldron of a match where everything is scrutinised within an inch of its life. So, yeah, no fear for me on him. He's absolutely brilliant. And, the scaremongering about, is he finished? And I think, oh my goodness me, please. And who are these people? Just who are you? But yeah, he'll be good. I think Fofana's another one that I'm pleased to see back on the side. I was really surprised to see him in the starting 11 yesterday. I just didn't see that coming at all. And I was a little bit critical of him at times at the start of the year. Not too bad, but it really annoyed me with that Man United goal. That really pissed me off. But overall, with him in the side, we are a different team. There's no doubt about it. And if Colwill plays better with him in the side, well, that's only a good thing as well. So they had a good partnership going, actually, before the Fofana injury. But this is the trouble. When Fofana plays, it's great. And, he's good to great most weeks. But the trouble is he's too injury prone. And are we going to rely on somebody that's cost us 70 million quid, but only plays a few games a season? I hope that he can get over these injury blips. We've got loads of players, haven't we? Reece James is one. Lavia is another one. And, football's not a difficult game. If you get all your best players fit and on the pitch, you're going to win more games than you lose. It's a simple fact that football's never been any different, and it will never change. So if you're bringing in weaker players in those positions, then the chances are you're not going to win as many games of football. So let's hope that Fofana can stay fit and healthy and keep us kind of pushing in the right direction, because, you know, he is a good player. And personally, I like my centre halves to be a little bit more robust, a bit more tough in the tackle, and maybe just play with a straight back. As you say in cricket, he's quite flamboyant, and I don't know if I love my centre halves to be like that, but that's what we've got, and it worked for him to some degree. So I just hope that he is, you know, he's had so many injuries. He doesn't seem too phased when he comes back from them, but I just hope that this one is the last one. But something tells me we're going to see him back on the injury bed at some point again soon. Yeah, and as for Chelsea, I just feel like we haven't played with any confidence for months. Even the games that we've won, Southampton and Leicester and Copenhagen, they've not been great. We picked up a win against Wolves somewhere in between there, and everything else has been very drab. I thought one of our best halves was against Bournemouth, weirdly enough, in the home game. The first half, I thought we played really well. We played with pace and power and speed, and everybody seemed to know what they were doing. And then the moment we can see the goal, it all goes to pot. And it's like, how can that be? Like, you must play like, if you coach Sunday morning level, there's a plan. If we can see, boys, you know, don't panic. Just don't panic, but we literally fall apart at the smallest little thing. Obviously, the defence have got no confidence in either goalkeeper behind them. So, like, again, at the weekend, that really should have been a goal. Tosin hitting his own crossbar when Sanchez comes, you know, rushing out and getting nowhere near it. But we've got that in our locker, haven't we? And you just feel like at any given moment we're gonna concede and give the impetus back into the opposition team. So anyway, I just want to see more. I just think that there has to be something in us. We can't just be relying on Lavia to make it all tick. If we're relying on Lavia to turn our season around, then we've got absolutely no hope. You know, there seems to be a real sort of hope that when he comes back, Caicedo will be better and Enzo will be better. And I'm sure that would happen. But again, he only plays a few games a season. So, you know, we need to go and find someone that can do his job, or we have to get this guy fit and staying fit. And a bit like with Reece James, whatever he needs to get him ready and staying ready. And that means never playing him in the Europa Conference League, because you can't risk him there. But it just seems to be that he walks through a bus and he pulls a hamstring at the moment. So I feel really sorry for him, because I think he is an excellent player, but we just don't see enough of him. You know, we're just not good enough, really. We're not entertaining to watch. We don't really play with a swagger. And our early season form has gone out the window. So I do want to see it come back a little bit. You know, is it just the fact that we're nervous? You know, is it the fact that we haven't got a goalkeeper that we can trust? Is it the fact that certain players have, you know, a bit like Palmer in some ways and Jackson have gone off the boil? Was it making everybody nervous? I don't know. But there has to be more to what we're seeing. You know, we can't, you know, Maresca was giving it the big one after the game yesterday, you know, 3 cheers over to the fans. It was like, we just beaten Leicester 1-0 at home. We are dreadful. You know, and I know he's trying to get the crowd going. I do have sympathy in that sense that the crowd isn't very atmospheric at the moment at the Bridge. But we also have to be, you have to show us a bit. Give us something. What's the plan? Because at the moment, I don't really see that there is one. And we'll find out a lot when we play Arsenal on the weekend, because we lost 5-0 there last year, and that was a bad result. You know, 5-0 against anybody, but losing to Arsenal 5-0 is shocking. They just come off the back of a 1-1 draw with Man United, who are dreadful, by the way. Yes, the game was at Old Trafford, but, you know, United are not a good side at the moment. If they can hold them to a draw, then I really expect us to go there and at the very least, to get a draw. But I just have this feeling in the pit of my stomach that we're going to give some absolutely ludicrous goal away, like we always seem to do, by playing out of the back, or Sanchez coming for a ball that he should never come for, and it really like making us panic time and time again. So let's hope that we can, you know, get some good some good early form against the Gunners and actually go at them. You know, go at them, because I think they'll expect us to sit back, and I think we should. I think we should go for the attack and really try and hurt them. And like I say, I think Palmer is the sort of guy that will go and express himself, and if you give him enough chances, he will take one. So in my mind, it's a big game for Maresca. He can't afford to go there and play a low block, sit back, do nothing, you know, and get beat 1 or 2-0. And go, oh, it wasn't too bad. Oh, Arsenal, they're further along in their journey than us. He can't keep saying that crap. Like, we're all sick and tired of hearing it. You need to give us more now. And I've said it before, I don't want to lose any game of football. But if we do lose, let's go out with a bit of a bang. Let's at least take the game to them. And if we get beat on the counter-attack and lose 3-2, we actually really, given Arsenal something to worry and care about, then I can get excited by that. But I can't get excited losing 1 or 2-0, 2-1, where we've basically had one shot on target the entire game and not tried a leg. That I can't get behind. So there has to be more. But I say the Premier League is tight this year. It's extremely tight. Everyone's in and amongst it. But yeah, let's hope that we can get our players back and on form, back amongst the goals, and hopefully 3 points at the weekend. But all in all, we've got Copenhagen to deal with on Thursday night. Let's hope we can get through that game unscathed, no injuries and all that sort of stuff. And go through to the next round on that and try and end our season on a bit of style, because we've had a real flat middle part here. A good start, terrible middle. Let's hope we have a much better end.
Hey, it's Chris here with a really quick message. Check us out on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. You'll find video clips, photos, and much more about everything we discuss on the show. Plus, it's a great way to get in touch, tell us your thoughts, share your feedback, or just say hi. Follow us on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. And now, back to the show. Yeah, well said, Joe. I think I'll wrap up the pod this week by basically saying exactly that, which is we really need to see a display at Arsenal. It's been, there's been a few criticisms, obviously, in recent months, but the criticism earlier in the season when we were playing well, from me, was a lack of belief, really, in those big games. When we went to Liverpool, we actually played really well, but I just felt we didn't believe enough. At Old Trafford, we didn't play well. We definitely didn't believe enough. And then, obviously, at Man City, we went 1-0 up early, could have killed them and just showed them too much respect. And I think it's exactly that. It's what you're looking to see from Maresca, is us really put our foot down and have a go at this Arsenal team, which are, as we saw, against United, like you said, they're, far from their best. A lot of injuries, obviously. So there's an opportunity to go and get a result. And as crazy as it is, if we were to win there, and it feels unlikely, but if we were to win, we're 3 points behind them in second. It just shows what a crazy season it's been in the Premier League in general. Really, apart from Liverpool, there's been there's a spate of kind of average sides, aren't there, this year? And yeah, this is just an opportunity for Chelsea to really sort of start to, if you could get a decent result on Sunday, you just give yourself a really good chance of ending the season well, like you say, and, go and win the Conference League, get yourself top 4, and we'd all be, I think, pretty happy. And you go into the World Cup being able to enjoy that and go from there. So, got to get the business done against Copenhagen first on Thursday, and then let's go to Arsenal and have a bloody good go. Up the Chelsea. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.